little behind. I'm waiting for my son to show up. And I'm not sure where he is, but he should be here. Huh? Almost here. Well, we're waiting for him to show up before we start. So when he comes in, I'll go, hey, You can't hear me? Turn the voice up. Well, usually it's the other way around, Jason. They tell me they hear me too much. But I will go ahead and start a little bit. First off, I want to thank everybody for coming. We're here to honor a lady who didn't think she was important. Carolyn would never accept what she was. She always said, oh, John, it's all you. And I know, no, it's not all me. I'm funny, people like me. Well, maybe they like me, I don't know. But they loved Carolyn. And she would be the most amazed person in the world looking down seeing what's going on today. We've got a lot of folks here. We think more are still coming in. All of our callers aren't here yet. We're going to dance quite a while. Just some housekeeping here. The restrooms are over here to your right. There is a handicapped restroom to the left of the stage. Let's see what else I want to say. We're going to have a lot of food set out. There's a lot of pictures out in the lobby. There's a slideshow going on. There's some interesting pictures that Carolyn would kill us if she knew we'd put them out. Some of you never believed the story that she was a professional hula dancer. Well, there's a picture of her out there in her hula skirt, taken at a square dance in 1972, I think. I'm not sure. One of our old club callers found it and sent it to me. I had it as wallpaper on my computer, and my son walked in and saw the picture. He never knew about his mom. He did not know about her hula. And he looked at it and he said, who is that? I don't know. It finally hit him. He was telling, Mom. He wasn't pleased. What we're going to do, we're going to start off, Kira Dishman's going to start us off with a little service. Then my daughter will speak, and then we will open it up. If you want to speak, raise your hand. I'll call you up. If you can't come on the stage, this is a cordless mic. I'll hand it down. Then I'll go last. Right before I go, I have Carolyn's best friend from Mississippi come up here and talk. I wanted to put her on early, but she said, no, John, I want to go late, so we'll do that. Mary Ann, I have something for you. I just can't believe that you're all here. I've even got one of the gentlemen I worked with at Sears came down from Milwaukee. He's not a dancer, and we're thrilled to have him here. Carolyn would be ecstatic. We knew Luther quite well. She met him, and we did a number of things together. He lives in Milwaukee. He was so thoughtful. He left for Ireland the day we got there for pre-convention. I had to meet him at 6 in the morning, and Carolyn said, I love Luther, but not at 6 in the morning. So she didn't go down. But we want to thank you all for coming. I want to quiet down here for a minute, and as soon as my son gets here, we'll start. I see Andrea. We lost Kira. There she is. Hang on.
Better hand me a wireless mic down. That'll work. All right, thank you. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to read a quick scripture that I think would say what Carolyn was, and then I'll talk for a minute, and I'll say opening prayer, and then we'll go from there. Scripture, John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, one and only Son. Whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. Carolyn loved everyone. She loved to hear all of you talk about what's going on, and she cared. I can't tell you the number of conversations we had about what was going on in my life, about how I wanted to, my race car driver retired last year. Oh, we hope he races again, and she cared. Every conversation I had, I love you, I'll see you again. So, that's my memories I had. And you all think John ruled the roost, If I made lasagna, Carolyn said, we're going. I don't care, we're going. Every time I made lasagna at our club, Carolyn said, I'm coming to your club. So I'm going to open this in prayer, and I'm going to turn it over to Andrea. Dear Lord, we're here today to celebrate a wonderful lady named Carolyn. We are sad that she's not here with us, but we're happy and rejoicing that she's with you. Carolyn would not want us to be sad. She would celebrate her life and all that she meant. Today's celebration is not about John, it's for Carolyn, and how much she loved dancing and loved all of you. So, in the few moments that we have tonight, please remember that we love her and that she loved all of you. And more importantly, she loved you, Lord. In our precious heavenly name, we pray, amen.
Turn down right now, but I'll
That's a good call.
no, I turn down.
There we go. Okay. This is our daughter, Andrea Cook. The way the date got chosen, it's been 3 months. You might wonder why we've waited so long. She definitely wanted to be here from Texas. So, without anything else, Andrea?
Thank you. Okay. First of all, I want to personally thank everyone for coming to celebrate my mom's life. And yeah, so like mother, like daughter. I'm just gonna put them right here. Okay. There's a high probability of tears, and that will be okay. Hey, look, I'm so short, you can't see me. Okay. So my mom was the best. And I could stop right there and I could walk off the stage and you would know I was telling you the truth. But I'm not going to. So my mom's a fantastic lady and had an amazing full life. And when I say that, I especially say it because when I was younger, when I was like in elementary school and middle school, I was just in awe of her stories and the things that she did before she became a mom. Because to me, she's mom. And she just let me know. I could learn by her example what I could do, not to be afraid to try something, not to be afraid to make a fool of myself, which if you know me, you know I don't mind. My mom was a dancer, and you're like, well, obviously, I mean, more than a square dancer. My mom danced, hula dancing, tap dancing, clogging, all the things, and she was great at it. My mom was a model. She was a looker, right? I mean, forever. And I'll tell you what that means later, Quacha. All right. And my mom raced motorcycles. I do not do that. But she definitely showed me not to be afraid, not that I could try. But I think that everyone here knows that Carolyn Cook was born to be a mother and a grandmother. She radiated it. It just, this aura around her. Right after she passed, lots of people said, your mom was so bubbly. I kept hearing bubbly, bubbly, and bubbly. And this is when I was in Texas. I hadn't even, hit the Hoosier state yet. But it's true, she's bubbly. Her smile, all those things are true. And she was meant to be a mom. When Melody came out, I mean, that was her thing. Everyone told me, it was a shift. And when I came around 6 years later, my mom, like I said, was the best. But we had an interesting start, which is, I am gonna say it. We just told my friend Babs this the other day. So I'm born in January in Indiana, so it's cold. And I'm all bundled up, and mom and dad take me home. And of course, there are people waiting to meet me. So mom very proudly holds out the bundle and goes to show my adorable face. And instead of my adorable face, 2 feet went bing! Because my mom carried me home upside down. And I'm not making it up. She did. Now, if my mom were here where she could talk to us, this is exactly what she would say. The nurse handed you to me like that. And I'm sure that's what happened, and it was fine. But we teased her about it relentlessly because it's true. And I'm fine, it's okay. But, I mean, that's debatable, I guess. But, so for the most part, my mom thought about this just the other day. I'm staying with my dad, which is hard, not just because my dad, sorry. It's hard being in the house right now with all the things. It's comforting and it's sad. But one of the things in there is a doll that my Aunt Brenda made for me back in the day. And you won't know this, but Cabbage Patch Kids were once hard to get, and I wanted one. And I would watch on the news when they would show, this is scary, adults like battling it out at stores to get one. And my dad was like, no. Okay. And I didn't get one, and I really wanted one. So my Aunt Brenda made me my own Ashley McGray Stevenson. And Ashley McGray is still at your house. But one day she got a rip in her, like her shoulder neck area, and her stuffing, her innards were coming out, and I was very upset. And Mom just said, no, honey, don't be upset. You kiss her and you go to school, and when you come back, she'll be okay. So I did, and I come home, and Ashley McGray Stevenson is in my bed, head propped on a pillow, with a folded up washcloth on her forehead, and a little sheet of paper with a red cross at the top. And my mom had made like detailed listing of how her procedure went and what my at-home care instructions would be. And it was just the sweetest. And I knew then, not everyone's mom does this. But to my mom, it was just, that's how she was. She's a caregiver, and not just for stuffed things. Best examples I can give is just a family in general. When we were in high school, my brother was hit by a car, and when he was in the hospital, all of us wanted to be there, obviously, we love you. But Dad and I had the hardest time getting Mom to leave his side. Lots of medical professionals, obviously, but Mom's like, no, he is my son, and I want to be there, and so getting her to eat or to nap was like impossible. I'm sure that comes as no surprise. My dad had heart attack and quintuple bypass surgery. I didn't know that was a thing. And when he came home, my mom slept on a pallet on the floor by the couch. So whenever he had anything, if there was like a little rumble, a moan, anything, she could be right there for him. The biggest one for me would be my sister Melody. When her cancer came back, my mom went and lived with her and her daughters, Keisha and Kyra, for 2.5 years, and helped them, and helped my sister, and it hard, so hard I can't imagine. And every time I talked to her, and it was every day, she had a smile on her voice, and she had a smile on her face, because she told me that she felt honored to be able to do that. And, that's Mom. Most recently, she was in Texas with me, taking care of me after my shoulder surgery. So I couldn't comb my hair, I couldn't put on undergarments. The whole thing, and Mom was just there and patient, and then the day that she went to the hospital, she was a caregiver. My boyfriend Randall got a bad case of shingles, and it went across his face right by his eyelids. We were up with him for 2 nights in a row straight. That morning, the morning she went to the hospital, we took him to the emergency room. She was a caregiver that day. I was exhausted. I was grumpy. She had to be, and she was a smile and a shoulder and honestly a short pillar of strength. She was, and that's how I remember her. To honor my mom, to celebrate my mom, is to celebrate love. If you are in this room, and I know you are because you're listening, just bear with me. I want you to know that my mom loved you. It didn't matter if she hadn't seen you in years, if you saw each other once in a while, if you're family, if you're friends, my mom just loved, and I want you to take that with you when you leave today. And it sounds corny, but I need you to remember that, because that's what I remember. If there's a heart to a family, my mom was the heart of our family, which doesn't mean that we're heartless now. It just means, I didn't think about that. It means she's still with us. I appreciate her for so many things. I know you're like, she's rambling. I have a plan. My mom, to honor her, you have to celebrate love, and I want you to keep that in mind. And she loved all of you, grandkids, great-grandkids, upside-down grandchild, friends and family, all of you. But before I walk away, before I go cry over there, there are a couple things I need to do. I need to say them out loud for myself and for my mom and for you to hear. And some of these things in the grand scheme may make no sense to you, and that's okay, because it would make my mom smile, and my mom's smile was the best. So, and if you don't believe me, go look at all those pictures out front. My mom loved so many things. She loved my dad's stuffing at Thanksgiving. She loved listening to Elvis Presley and Dale Watson. She loved cheating at Apples to Apples. Nieces and nephews can attest. Totally true. She loved the bluebonnets in Texas in the spring. She most definitely loved snow on Christmas. That was a big thing for her. She loved oatmeal cream pies. Wow, she loved all of you. Elephants, square dancing, the color red, her family, and there's so many things. Eating potato salad at Buc-ee's. I mean, there's the big and the little, okay? I'm gonna miss certain things that may sound weird, but I'm going to miss the random phone calls, because we spoke all the time. I mean, we did speak all the time. I'm gonna miss the random phone calls. I've tried to call her so many times, that's awkward. I am gonna miss watching Hallmark Mysteries with her, which we did on our last day together. I'm gonna miss her mac and cheese, because it was the ultimate, for real. I will miss being in a card aisle at a store for like an hour, so she could pick the perfect card. And if you ever, I'm looking at you right now, if you ever received a card from my mom, because I know you did, please know it was picked up with extreme care and thought. It wasn't like, that's pink, she likes pink. Oh no, we read them all. I'm gonna miss, I'm gonna miss her hugs. I'm going to miss how she would run to find my dad whenever their song was played, so she could hug him. Even though sometimes he would run from her. I know, exactly. And if, for anyone who's never experienced a mother's love like I am lucky enough, John, Melody, and Andy, I'm lucky enough to have, just know that my mom loved you. And again, I really thank you guys for bearing with me. I know that was long-winded, but I had to do it because I love my mom and I miss her dearly. Thanks.
Well, I've got to say, a lot of what she said, I remember the look on my mom and dad's face when those 2 feet popped out. It was about 15, I think it was 15 below zero, it was cold. Okay, now we want to open this up. Who would like to come up and speak about Carolyn? I know there's several folks that want to say things. Charlotte, did you want to wheel up here?
We can walk the microphone out too.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. Come on up.
Come up here, you can take it out there.
Charlotte here is a very special lady. She has been confined to a wheelchair for some time now, but she has stayed so active in square dancing that it's just incredible. She's always there for us and just works her butt off constantly. Hold on.
I've known John and Carolyn for a long, long time. We became very good friends. Anytime I'd be in the hospital, I knew I could always count on John and Carolyn to come and see me and cheer me up. I'd go into therapy and rehab, and they'd be right there with me, visiting me whenever I needed them. When I took over as chairman of the Northeast area, if there was a job to be done, Carolyn was right there beside me, helping me wherever she was needed. If I needed an office filled, she would step up and help me with a smile on her face, no questions asked. We had our first meeting the other day, and it was so lonely without her smile sitting there. I missed her so much. I know she's with us. I know she's watching over us. Carolyn, dear, I loved you, and I still love you, and I will miss you for every day.
Patty, do you want to come up? No, the lady walking up here now is Patty Woods. Patty hasn't danced for some time, but she and her husband hold a unique distinction. They've done something I haven't done, and there aren't many things that I haven't done. But Dave and Patty are the only people to ever hold all 4 state offices: president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer. And she recently, just this year, came back to the front table, we call it, as our secretary. And then they were our assistant general chairman in Evansville, so they done a lot.
I wrote down my comments because sometimes I can get off on rabbit trails. I wanted to say something because I want to honor my friend Carolyn. I've known her for so many, many years, and I have had some of the most exciting experiences of my life with Carolyn. I've had some of the most exciting experiences of my life with Carolyn and because of Carolyn. Attending Indiana Dancers Association's conventions and dances and meetings, and working on the Evansville National Square Dance Convention in 2022 with Carolyn are some of my most treasured memories. Carolyn was a good friend to me. We had so much fun together. There were times that we laughed so hard we could not stop. I'm thinking of a time in Jackson, Mississippi when I thought I might die because I could not stop laughing. I could not stop laughing. I don't know, do people die from laughing? Because I was worried. There were times that we stood side by side and worked until we were about ready to drop. I tried my best to see things through Carolyn's eyes because Carolyn had a pure heart. Her greatest attribute was that she saw only the best in people. She was my best role model. I never heard her say a bad word about anybody. And when I picture her, I always see her with the most beautiful, radiant smile on her face. If everyone tried to live every day like Carolyn Cook, this would be a kinder, better world. And I miss her, and I love her very much.
Anybody else want to come up and say something? Come on, Laura. This is Laura Jefferson. She came here from South Carolina, and she posted on the IDA website, "I'm looking to meet dancers in Indiana," and we helped her.
Thank you, John. Meeting Carolyn and John was a high point in coming back to Indiana. My husband and I, my late husband and I, were square dancers. Started off with Limberlost Squares way back when. He was the president of the Single Promenaders in Muncie, and then we got hitched and moved to South Carolina. And after 35 years of marriage, he passed away. So I decided, where am I going to meet some really nice people again? I'm going to get back into square dancing. And so through IDA, I found John and Carolyn. And they got at me and said, hey, why don't we meet at El Camino in Portland and for lunch. And my mom and my sister, yeah, it is good food. My mom and my sister came with me just to make sure that I was meeting some really nice people. and we talked for hours. And it was such a blessing to be with them. And since I didn't have a partner, a lot of times she would share her precious John with me. And that was such a blessing. So going to miss her terribly, and praying for the best for John, for his future and his family.
And it is true. We walked into El Camino, and I'd seen her picture on Facebook, and I went, "You brought guardians, didn't you?" Anybody else? Oh, Doris. Okay. I'm getting my steps in, and I'm not even dancing. This is Doris Rain, one of our callers from Indiana.
Oh, thank you all for being here. And I appreciate letting me speak just a minute. When I found out Carolyn and John, well, actually Carolyn loved those elephants. I kept buying her elephants. And believe me, she had a name for every one. And she had, I don't know how many, 2,000? Some, I don't know, but that names. So she was so sweet, but she always made everyone feel like they were a friend in any way, in any capacity. And actually, Jean and I were married on their anniversary, so that was something special that we shared. We will miss her. Thank you.
About Doris and Jean, at the end of an Indiana State Convention Board meeting in January of 18, Ernie asked if Carolyn and I would convince Indiana to bid for the convention. And I went, whoa, I don't know. And he said, I think maybe you guys should be the general chairman. I went, whoa, wait a minute. I got in the car, Jean and Doris were riding with us, and I said, Carolyn, Ernie wants us to convince Indiana to bid, and he thinks we should be the chairman. Carolyn didn't swear, but that night she screamed, hell no. And then we set up every night till midnight, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Finally, about 10 till 12 on Friday night, she looked at me and said, we have to. So she's not here to defend herself, but if she ever told you it was my decision, nope, she made the final decision. Oh, here comes a lovely lady from Caller Lab. This is Teresa Berger, the executive director of Caller Lab.
Hey there, I don't know about you, but I think many of you have known Carolyn longer than I've been on Earth. So I've had the privilege of knowing John and Carolyn for as long as I've been square dancing. How lucky am I to get to know them? And so I think I'm just blown away today, just so in awe of the beauty of the way that square dancing has brought all of us together. And so thankful for the opportunity to know Carolyn and her smile and her sweet spirit and just all that she did to preserve square dancing here in Indiana. And so just so thankful, and I'm just so grateful that we all had that same opportunity to know and love her and be a recipient of her love too. So just so honored to have that opportunity and so grateful for everything that she gave and just her sweet smile that she shared with all of us.
Okay, now I'm going to slip in a commercial. Pam Stoltz has made a beautiful square dance t-shirt quilt that they are raffling off for the Indiana Convention. It's in the outer lobby. If you look on the back where it's flipped over, the upper left-hand square says Carolyn Cook. And it's going to honor Carolyn. So if you would, they'll be out there later. Mary Ann, I'm assuming since you're walking up here, this is Mary Ann Jackson, one of our very dear friends and a square dance scholar.
And all the way from Alabama. I'm glad that so many people are here to honor Carolyn and John. This is a wonderful activity, and the great thing about it is so many friends that you make and the years that we're together. You know, you might not see each other for a year, but you're still a great friend once you get back together. You know, and John and Carolyn, you know, made sure they passed that on. And the important thing for all of us to remember is to also continue to pass that on. You know, when leadership positions come up in the different square dance organizations, don't just sit back. and be passive, please join in. Like how, they became chairman of a convention, and that's a big responsibility, and sometimes you don't have that much time, but there's things in your club you can do, things for the association, please let their legacy be your legacy to continue this wonderful activity and that we're all together in this as friends. Thank you.
I will say that to expand on what Mary Ann said. Square dancing is not just a hobby, it's a family. And the longer you dance, the bigger that family gets. We walked into a dance, and some of you have heard this, in New Boston, Texas, going down to Audrey's at Thanksgiving of 21. I never even heard of the town. Walked in the back door, and the first thing I heard was, oh crap, look who's here. I saw Jolly Baldwin here first, and then we got Ernie Stone after that. Jolly was our club caller for quite a while.
I'd like to say a few things about Carolyn. First time I ever seen her was at Dunkirk. We were doing a street dance, and she was sitting way back along the wall back there. And I went and asked if there's anybody that never danced, want to get up and try. And she got up. John wouldn't get up, but she got up. And when I talked to two ladies chain, she put her hand behind her back, and Les said, "You square dance, don't you?" And she said, "Well, I did a long time ago." Second tip, John and Carolyn with us dancing. And they've been dancing ever since. Carolyn and my wife, they just hit it off. They were best friends. They would go get their ears pierced together, trade elephants. And my wife passed away about a little over 3 years ago. And I know they're together. They're up in heaven. They found a partner. And I'm sure they're squared up someplace, just waiting on a caller to show up to heaven. But
Are you saying there's no problem now? Is that what you just said? That there's no callers in heaven now?
there's no callers.
He said it, not me.
I'm a caller, I can say that. Well, I used to be a caller. I haven't called for 5 years. But Carolyn and John went with us a lot square dancing. We went to Canadian Nationals together, and we had a lot of fun in Canada. And she helped Alice a lot with the Bear Creek Farms. I don't know if anybody's been there or not, but she did a lot of work for that too. And I just miss her. Miss her a lot. Thank you.
One of the t-shirts on the quilt is Bear Creek Farms. And this is Mr. Ernie Stone. For those of you that went to the 1986 National in Indianapolis, Ernie was the general chairman. And Barb Stone's coming to join him with Sasha.
We need you down.
Oh, I have to go down. Why am I worried?
I want to start this, Lord. I want to turn a hell no into a hell of a job for just preventing on the convention. You done one hell of a job. Really, you did, you and Carolyn. Tremendous job of putting on that national. It was a great job. Thank you very much. It was our honor to serve as your advisors to that. Also, I would like to say to the audience that there's an awful lot of dignitaries and people in this audience who have put in a lot of work towards our activity of square dancing. I challenge you to try and find somebody who has put more into this organization than John and Carolyn Cook have. They have done a tremendous job. And John is no longer out on his own without Carolyn. He's still promoting square dancing. He's the president of IDA, our sponsoring organization. And he informed me that he has just recently started a square dance club. Right? Pretty close? All right. He's working on starting a square dance club. But we have an award we'd like to give to him just now.
I would like to welcome everyone here. It is my pleasure to be here. Many years ago, Ernie and I were the president of the Indiana Dancers Association for 2 or 3 years. My sister, which is now deceased, my twin sister, which is now deceased, served for 5 years as the Indiana Dancers president. So John was going to fill those, and he did, and he surpassed it. He sort of apologized that he got 1 or 2 more years in than what my sister got in. It was a pleasure to know Carolyn, and what I really didn't know, when we were in Milwaukee in this past June for the National Square Dance Convention, and at the NEC meetings, Sasha, which is here in the stroller, normally the stroller sat between Carolyn and I, and Carolyn would pet her and talk to her, and she normally slept, as far as that's concerned. After Carolyn passed away, I was talking to John, and John said, do me a favor and give Sasha a kiss from Carolyn. That I did. You know what? That is the most calming feeling that I had towards Carolyn. Not only did she get that one kiss for that one day, but every day, at some time during the day, I'd tell Sasha, this is your kiss from Carolyn. So, and it makes me feel better because I do miss Carolyn and all of her work that she has done. And I bought a sympathy card and mailed to John after she passed away. And John and Ernie talked, and Ernie got a little bit upset with me. He said, you mailed that little card. You mailed that little card. And the card that I mailed said Ernie and Barbara Stone and Sasha. And he didn't believe me. I went and got the little card. John, I'm going to give you this little card. No, you don't. There's a little paper in it. And you...
John, Mommy let me come with them today to celebrate Carolyn's life. She picked out this card for Carolyn and you. Mommy and Carolyn took care of me while we were in Milwaukee for the Square Dance Convention. Daddy and Mommy helped me sign this card. Sorry it is so messy. Sasha. And there's a paw print. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That is the most small thing ever.
Barb and Ernie were 2 of our advisors for Evansville. Oh, hold on. J.D. Strausser, one of our former callers and a very dear friend. J.D.?
I only have one question for you. And that question is, who is going to guide you down the right path now that Carolyn is not around? Volunteer? Volunteer? All right. I think somebody out there will. John's a stinker. If nobody's ever pointed that out before, he is definitely a stinker. He did something one time. We were driving home from, where was that? Nashville. And all of a sudden, in our rearview mirror, there were these blinking lights. And we couldn't figure out what in the world's going on. Well, next thing we know, John had arranged for these guys. He denies it until the day is long. But next thing you know, there was these policemen there. And they were talking about a red car, which we haven't have a red car. And talking about a cute young guy in the front seat, and it happened to be me. But anyway, he didn't say anything about the gray-haired guy in the back seat, but that would have probably given it away. But anyway, we had to talk very, very hard to get out of whatever it was we were accused of. But anyway, we let John off the hook, by all means, even though he denies it to this day. Okay, that'd be fine. I never did ask Carolyn. But anyway, I know I can't miss her as much as you do, but I do miss her a lot. All right? Okay? Okay.
What JD isn't telling was they let us off at our car, then they drove on home, and I called their house and left a message on the phone. And they said, "This is Sergeant Smith from the whatever police department, and we really need you to call us back to discuss that accident that occurred." He called. Mary was so upset with it. Carolyn goes, "Oh, they won't do it." They won't. I said, "Honey, they'll know my voice." They didn't. Anybody else? This is your chance before I start talking. Sarah, my daughter-in-law, wants to come up. Wait just a second. John, would you stand up, please? Please, stand up. Stand up. This is our son, John. John won't come up and talk. He's not a talker. He's shyer than his father.
Yeah, a lot.
What was...
Hello, I am married to that man. 19 years ago, I met this wonderful family. I had already been married, had 3 children, and I met him. And he brought me and all 3 of my children in, treated us as if they were his own. And his parents did the exact same thing. Sorry, I thought I was going to get to this better. Carolyn, you always hear about the horrible mother-in-law stories. Not Carolyn. I always told everyone that I hit the jackpot, when she became my mother-in-law. She has always treated me, her bonus grandchildren, and her grandchildren with complete love. And I just wanted to say that I will forever be grateful to her and to John and to Andrea and the whole Cook family and the Lampers. You guys are awesome. I love you, Carolyn, and I will miss you.
Anybody else? Okay, now you're... Oh, I'm sorry, Yvonne, get up here. This is Yvonne Johnson. She was Carolyn's best friend from Mississippi. Yvonne, do you want to come up or do you want me to come down? Okay. Well, Yvonne's just short. I'm worried if she stands down there, nobody will see her. I met Yvonne when I was traveling for Sears with a company, with a club in Mississippi. And Carolyn kept hearing me talk about her. And we were coming back from North Little Rock, which is where I met Tim in 2017. And I thought, I want Carolyn to meet this friend of mine. And so we met at a Cracker Barrel in Memphis. And it was instant love with these two. And they just really fell in together. So, Yvonne. She'd even do that in front of Carolyn.
He deserves a good kiss. Excuse me, my sinuses are making my voice crack up. But we first met John in 2016. We really haven't known him as long as most of you have around here. But we kept asking him about a wife, and he kept saying, "Yeah, I have one." I said, "Okay. Don't you think sometime you can bring her down. He said, well, you know I'm down here working. I said, I know, but sometime bring her down and let her stay at the hotel. He said, oh, I don't know if I can do that. I said, I don't want you and her talking about me while I'm gone. I said, well, you never know what it's going to be. But Carolyn was everything that everyone in here says that she was. She was a girlfriend. She was a great lover. And she was a wonderful friend to me. We had this very bad habit. We liked to talk on the telephone a lot, except for the fact that we liked to talk about 11, 12 o'clock at night. And John would put the phone on speaker, and he and Carolyn and I had some really good talks till the wee hours of the morning some days. And it's a good way. Everybody needs a sounding board. And I guess, in a way, both of them were my sounding boards, but Carolyn was the one who is the best listener and has the best advice. If it hadn't been for the advice and the way she was with holding John back, he never would have excelled up to the point he is now. Because John is a little bit slow. And every time, I always said, every good man has a better woman behind him. Well, John did. He had the best. She had to hold him down a lot of times. He was going to go out and do something really silly without thinking. And she said, oh no. She grabbed the door. You can't go out. Sit down and listen. Well, he would sit down and listen, and then he would just change what he thought he was going to do. Notice I said the word thought he was going to do. But he is a fantastic person, too. And you guys are really lucky to have him up here as much as you do, even though he travels a lot. But be not for Carolyn Sue Cook, John would not be the person that he is today, because she held him up, she spoke for him when he needed her, she was there at all times to back him up in anything he had wanted to do. So if we have someone else in this area that feels like they could sort of fill her shoes and help make John into a better person. No, really. John is a good person. He's a wonderful person. And Carolyn told me a lot of things about him when they were younger and traveling. And the only thing that I can say is I loved her very, very much. And I'm sure she loved me. And I'm going to leave you with what I usually say. The Lord giveth, and the Lord taketh away.
Wow. I want to tell a couple of short, funny stories about Carol.
Well, you didn't ask if anybody else wanted to say something.
They're not. She was last.
No, she's not.
Tim?
Yeah, that's right. Tim's
Tim.
last.
No.
Surely you don't think I'm going to get here with the microphone in front of all these people and not talk?
You go ahead. I'm going to let Tim go ahead. I know better. I know when I've lost.
I don't want you talking back while I'm talking. As John said, we met, I think, in Little Rock, Arkansas in 2017. That was if you're Squirt Answers, you know about Seduce's, Single Squirt Answers USA. And they always had a big annual festival on Labor Day weekend for 50-something years called Dancerama. That year it was in Little Rock, and I was one of the callers, and he was there visiting. One reason he was there visiting was because I think the next year or two, that particular same convention was in Indianapolis, Indiana. And I, again, was one of the callers and came up there with him and Carolyn. And they hold the distinction, this is the Single Squirt Answers USA, and they hold the distinction of being the only married couple. Just you, it wasn't them, he was the chairman by himself. Distinction of being the only married man to ever be the general chairman of the Dance-A-Rama for Sedusa. And that was a big festival, 4-day festival. They moved around the country, whatever. And so he come down there. I'm surprised he came down and actually met me and heard me, and then still let me come back the next year to Indianapolis and be one of the callers for it. I thought, oh gosh, they've seen him scream me. They'll cancel me for sure now. But John doesn't know, we probably was together before that because he said in 1986 at the National Convention in Indianapolis, him and Carolyn were there. It was their first one. It was my 9th one, but I was there too. Me and Sissy were there too. No, I didn't say I was older than you. I just said it was my 9th. I was there too. So we were probably at the same dance together, but you didn't know each other. We got to be very good friends in Little Rock there in the following year in Indianapolis at the thing, and have been around each other a lot since then. Mentioning the wives, I'm very fortunate too to have such a wife that compares very much to Carolyn. But Carolyn and my wife kind of talked to some and decided that unless at least one of them was there with us, John and I were not allowed to play together. Because they said when we get together unchaperoned, things just happen. So my wife Sissy and Carolyn kind of agreed that at least one of them had to be with us if we were together. If one of them weren't there, we were supposed to not be together. John and Carolyn have done as they mentioned before, have done a wonderful thing for the Square Dance activity. They have been club officers, they've been district association officers, they've been state officers, they've been chairman of the Singles Nationals, they've been chairman of the Nationals. These are people who have given so much of their life and love to this activity they love. We mentioned that you have families and friends and groups, and somebody mentioned the family of Square Dance. And I know, John has his family, the kids and the family here, and we hate to lose our loved ones, but it's part of life. And as she said, the Lord giveth, the Lord taketh away. We accept it. We're not always happy with it, but we're happy that we were touched by the life. To know that Carolyn is part of Square Dancing, and if you knew her, that people like Carolyn make the world a better place. For you having known them, for me having known them, I feel like I'm a better man, a better person for being around people like that. It's honored that we can do that. They give so much of their time. I know they've got their family. They probably got family, a circle of friends and work people from Sears. Probably got a circle of friends from neighbors. Your neighbors do like you, don't you? Neighbors and the kids and their kids' friends and things like this, and church family. But the Square Dance family is something they have been part of for just, I don't know how much of their life, a large part of it, most of it, many years. And if you don't believe it, look at the people that came here. Because John, we love Carolyn, we love you, and we appreciate what you've done for all of us. You've done a great, to you know what a sentimental man he is. I get to see him a little bit because Andrea lives in Austin, which is in Texas, that's where I'm from. And she's about 5 hours south of me, but we get through there. So John and Carolyn from time to time, they go down to see Andrea and come back and just happen to stop on the way where I'm at sometimes. That's how he got to New Boston. I wasn't there that night, but I sent him there. What year was your 50th anniversary? 2021, our Texas State Festival happened to be up northeast Texas, close to my home. And John and Carolyn were going to attend that year. They came to our Texas State Festival, either on their way down to see Andre or on their way back, visiting there, spent some days with us. That particular weekend happened to be their 50th anniversary. But John, being the sweet, sentimental guy he is, my wife is a florist, and he talked to her. He says, "Can you get me 50 long stem red roses, one for every year?" Well, she said, "That's no big deal, no problem." So he had her make a big arrangement bouquet of 50 long stem red roses. Arranged it at one time. They were up on the stage at one of the announcement points, and she was up there with him. I don't know if they was promoting nationals in Evansville. And of course, she was up there with him, not knowing what was going on. But he had arranged it to where at one point in time he said something, and I walked up on the stage with one single red rose to give to John, which he handed to her. Right behind me came up another caller, very good friend of theirs from Texas, named Wayne Weston. Wayne came up and handed him a rose, and he presented it to Carolyn. And she was thrilled to death. Their anniversary had 2 roses. Sneaking up behind her, he didn't see it. Andre had come up with 2. Well, you had 16 in there, and I had 16 more, and Wayne had 16 more, and if you do all the math on that, she had 50 red roses presented to her. Caught her totally off guard. We were very happy about that. And those red roses, they're here today. If you go to this table out here, you'll see a big old glass jar. It's got some roses in it. They're a little deader now, a little less red. But they are in that glass jar, and that's the roses that he presented to her on stage on their 50th anniversary at the Texas State Festival in 2021. That's right. And so, again, we're going to miss Carolyn. We love Carolyn. That's why we're here. We love John. If any two people, if heaven ever made two people and put it in a mold and says, this piece fits this piece, it had to be those two. I don't know any people that match each other better than them, than John and Carolyn. And you know we love you.
The end of the roses story is that Andrea sent those up to us. They're in the bell jar out there. And I would do something to make Carolyn angry. And she would go in the kitchen and look at the roses. You did something nice once. Now, how many people were in Jackson, Mississippi when the torch was passed? Well, Dan Torvik, who's sitting out there, hi Dan, he had heard the story, and there's a picture out there to prove it, that Carolyn used to be a professional hula dancer. And so he was going to nail me, but he got Carolyn. He said, Carolyn, your husband told me you used to do this. Before you get this torch right here, you're going to do a hula. Carolyn hadn't done a hula in over 45 years. She had never done one in square dance clothes. She'd never done one wearing shoes. She hung her head for 2 seconds, went into a minute and a half of hula, all the hand gestures, the turns, got a standing ovation. And Dan, I just want to show you, I've got a grass skirt up here. If you want to come put it on. I want to thank Teresa and Ruth for bringing this today. I had to quote Carolyn. I'm going to give you Carolyn's exact quote. The reason she did, I wanted the damn torch. But this is it. We carried the torch all around the country, every dance we went to let the dancers see it. And I want to thank Ted and Tanya Hoffmeister for bringing it up here today. They're the chairman for Shreveport next year. I want to tell two real short, funny stories about Carolyn. On our honeymoon, we stayed at the Essex House overlooking Grant Park in Chicago. Carolyn never been to Chicago. Oh my God. I got up Sunday morning and I looked out. And if you've ever seen Grant Park, there's a statue of General Grant in the middle of the park. I said, Carolyn, come quick. There's a statue of a pigeon out here. The generals were flocking for miles around to crap on it. She jumped up out of bed, got halfway to the window when the words sunk in. And she stopped and she gave me the look. And she goes, is that how it's going to be? I said, the rest of your life. I delivered. I told her, I said, you're never going to be rich, but you're never going to be bored. If you look out on the table there, there's a couple of pictures with a blue screen in the background. They were taken on the stage at Evansville. And Carolyn looked at me and she says, can I have some boredom now? One more real quick one. We've been married about 6 months, and I was still in college and studying late at night. She rolled over to bed and looked at me and says, you know, my mother introduced us. You know, your mother told me all about you. I didn't believe her. And now it's too late. But it occurred to me many years later, my mother never told me about her. So I went to Mom's grave and I forgave her for what she'd done to me. I told that joke once and a lady got mad and walked away from the table. I want to read a couple of things. I wrote this about 16 years ago, and it was published in the Ida News. We had just lost 3 of our really top square dance friends. I said, as we get involved in the square dance world, we make many, many friendships. For nearly 40 years, Carol and I have been dancing and making friends. Unfortunately, most of us take these friendships for granted. We think our friends will always be there. This last weekend showed how wrong we are. In 2 days' time, we lost 3 members of our family, Bertha Ball, Ann Hill, and Larry Weekly. You may not have known all 3, but you knew at least one of them. They were part of our lives, now they're gone. I can't speak for you, but I find myself wondering about the last time we saw any of these people. Was it a good occasion? Did we have a good conversation? Did we part on good terms? Did I ever tell any of them how much they meant to me? That last question is the hardest of all to answer. Most of us, myself included, rarely tell anyone how much they mean to us. We rarely think to let someone know how important they are in our lives. We may forward an email to everyone about friendship, but do we actually tell them how we feel? I know that I fall short of this action. Bonnie Lawrence, who's here, told me last Sunday that after my heart attack 5 years ago, she makes it a point to give me a big yellow rock whenever we meet. She always tells me how she feels about Carolyn and I, and Bonnie still does that. We should all follow her example. When you go to your next dance, think about this. Take the time to tell the people how you feel. Most people never know. You think, they know how I feel. Most of them don't. They have no idea. Not only will you feel better, so will they. And I think that's really critical, especially with what's just happened. Now, these next two short things have a lot to do with Carolyn, what she was like. It says, note to self. What is my purpose in life? I asked the boy. What if I told you that you fulfilled it when you took an extra hour to talk to that kid about his life, said the voice. Or when you paid for that young couple in the restaurant. Or when you saved that dog from traffic. Or when you tied your father's shoes for him. Your problem is you evaluate your purpose with goal-based achievement. The universe doesn't care about your achievements, just your heart. When you choose to act out of kindness, compassion, and love, you are already aligned with your true purpose. No need to look any further. That was Carolyn. She cared about everybody. And this one kind of goes the same thing. You never truly know the impact you have on those around you. You never know how much someone needed that smile you gave them. You never know how much your kindness turned someone's entire life around. You never know how much someone needed that long hug or deep talk. So don't wait to be kind. Don't wait for someone else to be kind first. Don't wait for better circumstances or for somebody to change. Just be kind. And that was Carolyn. That was her. Over to bed, looked at me and says, you know, my mother introduced us. You know, your mother told me all about you. I didn't believe her. And now it's too late. But it occurred to me many years later, my mother never told me about her. So I went to Mom's grave and I forgave her for what she'd done to me. I told that joke once and a lady got mad and walked away from the table. I want to read a couple of things. I wrote this about 16 years ago, and it was published in the Ida News. We had just lost 3 of our really top square dance friends. I said, as we get involved in the square dance world, we make many, many friendships. For nearly 40 years, Carol and I have been dancing and making friends. Unfortunately, most of us take these friendships for granted. We think our friends will always be there. This last weekend showed how wrong we are. In 2 days' time, we lost 3 members of our family, Bertha Ball, Ann Helm, and Larry Weekly. You may not have known all 3, but you knew at least one of them. They were part of our lives, now they're gone. I can't speak for you, but I find myself wondering about the last time we saw any of these people. Was it a good occasion? Did we have a good conversation? Did we part on good terms? Did I ever tell any of them how much they meant to me? That last question is the hardest of all to answer. Most of us, myself included, rarely tell anyone how much they mean to us. We rarely think to let someone know how important they are in our lives. We may forward an email to everyone about friendship, but do we actually tell them how we feel? I know that I fall short of this action. Bonnie Lawrence, who's here, told me last Sunday that after my heart attack 5 years ago, she makes it a point to give me a big yellow rock whenever we meet. She always tells me how she feels about Carolyn and I, and Bonnie still does that. We should all follow her example. When you go to your next dance, think about this. Take the time to tell the people how you feel. Most people never know. You think, they know how I feel. Most of them don't. They have no idea. Not only will you feel better, so will they. And I think that's really critical, especially with what's just happened. Now, these next 2 short things have a lot to do with Carolyn, what she was like. It says, note to self. What is my purpose in life? I asked the boy. What if I told you that you fulfilled it when you took an extra hour to talk to that kid about his life, said the voice. Or when you paid for that young couple in the restaurant. Or when you saved that dog from traffic. Or when you tied your father's shoes for him. Your problem is you evaluate your purpose with goal-based achievement. The universe doesn't care about your achievements, just your heart. When you choose to act out of kindness, compassion, and love, you are already aligned with your true purpose. No need to look any further. That was Carolyn. She cared about everybody. And this one kind of goes in the same thing. You never truly know the impact you have on those around you. You never know how much someone needed that smile you gave them. You never know how much your kindness turned someone's entire life around. You never know how much someone needed that long hug or deep talk. So don't wait to be kind. Don't wait for someone else to be kind first. Don't wait for better circumstances or for somebody to change. Just be kind. And that was Carolyn. That was her. I got two more. This one's going to be hard. I'll admit I cheated. I found these on Facebook. They were just so appropriate. I wanted to spend the rest of my life with you, but instead, I'm deeply honored knowing that you spent the rest of your life with me. When Andre and I sat there with Carolyn in the hospital room as she passed, it's probably the hardest thing we've ever done. Because we thought she'd always be there. Okay, this last one. And this is aimed at, I know some of you are really having a hard time. Life must go on. This is it, Carolyn wrote this. Grieve for me, for I would grieve for you. Then brush away the sorrow and the tears. Life is not over, but begins anew. With courage, you must greet the coming years. To live forever in the past is wrong. Can only cause you misery and pain. Dwell not on memories overlong. With others you must share and care again. Reach out and comfort those who comfort you. Recall the years, but only for a while. Nurse not your loneliness, but live again. Forget not, but remember me with a smile. I want to thank all of you for coming today. This is just phenomenal. And the person who would be most astounded to look in this room and see what's going on is Carolyn. Because she never thought she was important. And I'll tell you, several people touched on it, that what we would never have accomplished the things we did without her. I knew where I was going. I'm charging up. Carol would go behind me and go, this is what he really meant. Sometimes we'd go to a dance and she'd issue a mass apology at the beginning of the evening. I don't know what he's going to do tonight, but I want to apologize before he does it. Okay, real quick, we're getting ready to have our dance now. What we're going to ask, if you're staying to dance, take your chair and line. We're going to line this whole room because we're going to dance everywhere. The callers have to take some time to set up some more speakers and get everything ready. And we'll start dancing in about 15 or 20 minutes. And we're going to try our darndest for the dancers. We're going to do one round dance between each tip. We got a lot of callers and we want them all to call. And again, thank you so much for coming. We'll see you out there.